This is a great point. The Martin Harris meeting the professor story is only a second-hand account told to us by Joseph Smith. We never hear Martin tell it himself, and most of us haven't heard the professor's side of the story. Even regardless of the professor's point of view, I found some interesting contradictions between what Joseph said Martin said from 1832 to 1838. In 1832, Joseph said that Martin said that the professor could not read the plates. The professor, the learned man, asked Martin if he could bring the plates because then he could translate them, and Martin said no, because God forbid it. And at that point, he returned and told Joseph that the professor could not read it and that Joseph, the unlearned man, would have to read it. And Joseph said, "How am I supposed to read it? I'm unlearned." Why would he question his ability to read or translate when he had already been doing so? He had already translated much of the golden plates, allegedly, and that's what Martin took to the professor, was the transcriptions or some of the writings that Joseph had already translated. So why then would Joseph say, "How am I supposed to translate it? I'm not learned." He was already doing it. But he used this, taking these phrases, to say, hey, well, this is going to fulfill Isaiah 29. However, in the 1838 account, Joseph said that Martin said that the professor did read it and he actually certified the translation, saying that it was all correct. But he still wanted to see the golden plates, and that's when he got mad when Martin said he couldn't bring them, and he said he couldn't read them because they were sealed. And at that point, the professor said, well, I cannot read a sealed book. See, in 1832, Joseph had made mention of Isaiah 29 verse 12, saying that the learned would not read them, but the unlearned could read them. And in 1838, he added on to that story by saying that the learned man couldn't read the sealed book. And this is what I just realized when I looked at this document again on the JSP. This middle line, see how there's a sentence in the middle there that's a little darker? It was added in later. This afterthought says, informed him that part of the plates were sealed and that I was forbidden to bring them. He replied, I cannot read a sealed book. This whole detail of this conversation that Joseph said that Martin said they had was an afterthought, added in later. This is a great example of how Joseph would cherry pick a Bible verse and add it in using its own phraseology to make it look like he was fulfilling some biblical prophecy. And he was so desperate for people to believe him that he ended up contradicting himself, because the prophecy in Isaiah 29 said that the learned man would not be able to read the plates. But Joseph in 1838 wanted so desperately for people to believe that his translation was correct, he said that the learned man did read them and certified that they were true. And this brings us to the professor's side of the story, who said, the Mormon story is a complete falsehood. A person called upon me many years ago and showed me a pretended transcript of a page of the Golden Bible, desiring me at the same time to favor him with the translation. It required but a single glance to perceive that the whole affair was a sheer and very clumsy imposition. The paper contained in one or two parallel columns rude imitations of Hebrew and Greek characters together with various delineations of sun, moon, stars, etc. The man who handed me the scrawl had previously taken it to Dr. Mitchell, had been referred by that gentleman to me. He stated that he was about to engage in the affair of the Golden Book, and if my memory served me right, intended to sell his farm and appropriate the proceeds to the publication of the volume. I told him very frankly that the whole matter was a hoax and cautioned him against being cheated out of his property. You'll perceive from this what a monstrous lie the Mormons are uttering when they say that I promised to decipher the piece of writing in question if the original records were brought to me. I told the man at once that he was imposed upon and that the writing was mere trash.